Thanks very much, Paul, and pleasure to be here this afternoon, and thank you all for coming to listen to the Inca Minerals story. It's a very exciting time for Inca. We're exploring for IOCGs in the Northern Territory, and we think we're onto something pretty big in our current drilling. I flew down here on Monday, and it's a pleasure to talk to you this afternoon. I'm heading back up tomorrow, and I would have much preferred to stay on the rigs watching what's coming out of the hole. So just quickly, some background on Inca. Our board of directors, Ross, Jonathan, Gareth and Adam. Adam's quite a new appointee to the board, and he's already brought some really positive influence to the board, a lot of business experience. He's also here today, so please do come and say hello to him after this session. And also here today is Emmanuel. He's my right-hand man. We work very well together as the two technical geos leading the program. So he's here, so please do come and ask if you've got any technical questions, and come and look at some of the core that we have on display. Some corporate information. We have about 480 million shares on issue, as well as a couple of option series in the market. The top 20 hold about 28% of the company, board and management about 7%. Market cap around 50 million, share price around 10, 11 cents, give or take, and cash at the end of the last quarter was about just over 8 million. So our portfolio, with a name like Inca, obviously we've got a historic connection to Peru. We still have a large focus over there, copper, gold, porphyry and epithermal systems with the Rakeiser project. And several years ago, a couple of years before COVID hit, Inca took the very wise decision to get some Australian focus, and we built a very exciting portfolio for copper and gold, largely focused on IOCG and SEDEX systems, as well as porphyry and skarn focus as well. So we have a big exposure in the Northern Territory. We're one of the larger landowners in the very exciting East Tennant region. And further south, we also hold a large sway of the ground in the East Arunta region, and as well a little bit of porphyry exploration in North Queensland behind Townsville. So our Ferruena Project, which forms part of the East Tennant region of the Northern Territory, this builds on the really exciting work done by Geoscience Australia and Northern Territory Geological Survey that chose the East Tennant as a region that had high potential to host large-scale iron oxide copper-gold systems, as well as SEDEX and various other things. Through that work done by Geoscience Australia and NTGS, they did a lot of pre-competitive geoscience work, geophysics work, and we've now picked up a very exciting patch of ground over 5,000 square kilometres, and we've been building on that extra work done pre-competitively by rolling out over 85,000 line kilometres of detailed magnetics, as well as some gravity surveys over selected areas. And that work has allowed us to do detailed modelling of the gravity and the magnetics to come up with some initial drill targets that we're now actually testing for the first time. We call our drill program a reconnaissance drill program because we are testing what's in the basement below 200 odd metres of cover. The basement is very poorly known out there. Every hole we drill will add to that knowledge for the region. And the strange thing about our reconnaissance program is we're actually drilling kilometre deep holes, which for a junior is not the first thing you go and do. And we're not just drilling one of them, we're drilling a number of them, and we're spreading those out over a number of different targets. Very excitingly, in all of our holes that were drilled to depth so far, we've hit IOCG or SEDEX style alteration and also some sulfide minerals. And we're getting very confident that our gravity and magnetic modelling is very robust, and that gives us more confidence as we move forward with these projects in the future. The one drawback with that is that normally in exploration you start to kill off a few of your targets, and that makes it easier to focus on the ones that return good results. But we've got 4 positive tests out of 4 different prospects, which means we're going to have to be very careful how we prioritise going forward. So it's a good problem. The map shown there is the central portion of our East Tennant region. The lower tenements are called the Ferruena East Project with Roadhouse and Jumping Spider. The northern tenement is the Ferruena Far East Project with the Mount Lamb, Plains Target and Desert Creek anomaly. What you probably don't realise in that image is the sense of scale. Everything is bigger in the Northern Territory. Between Roadhouse and Desert Creek, that's a 60-kilometre stretch of stratigraphy that is prospective for both IOCG and SEDEX mineralisation. We're very excited what we hold there. It's some of the shallowest ground in the East Tennant region. And the block between Roadhouse and Mount Lamb that we don't own that's owned by a small company called Newcrest, who we're quite pleased to have as a neighbour. And locally as well, we've got a swathe of juniors who are also exploring Middle Island next to us at Roadhouse with their copper occurrence of crosswinds. And just off to the map to the southwest, Greenvale, who've also started drilling this week. So very exciting time for all. We're particularly excited about our result released on Monday, hole 7 from Mount Lamb, northeast. And this is the reason why. We went into this area targeting large-scale offset gravity and magnetic targets. The cross-section there shows hole 7 drill trace, which was drilled to 990 metres, deeper. And that went into a gravity anomaly, which is the yellow, orange and brown isoshells, and then a magnetic anomaly, the blue to purple isoshells. Under 200 metres of cover, as soon as we go into the gravity yellow shell, we hit very strong hematite brecciation and veining, with a lot of silica veining as well. As we transition down hole, we lower down the hematite content, increase the pyrrhotite content, and by the time we get to 550 metres, we're into very strong magnetite alteration that continues down to 700 metres. That fades down hole as we sort of come out of those anomalies again, but we have recorded there a 500 metre interval of very strong IOCG alteration. And quite excitingly, throughout that, we've got visual observations of copper, lead and zinc sulfides. We're yet to submit this hole for assay. We'll probably be doing that in the next week and a half. The usual standard wait at the moment, 8 to 10 weeks on assays, but we're very excited about this as a first pass test of a very large system. IOCG is known to be very big, and here we have something that's 500 metre downhole interval into a magnetic and gravity anomaly that's got quite significant strike extent. We're currently got this rig that drilled hole 7 onto hole 8, which is 1.8 kilometres away northeast along strike. That hole is now down about 600 metres, and we're currently reviewing where we put that rig next. We're quite keen to follow up hole 7 as a priority, and there's a number of options there about how best to target a follow-up hole. So hole 7, where does it sit within an IOCG system? The diagram there is a very schematic idea of your IOCG/porphyries. We want to look on the left-hand side of that diagram, and we see a zoned alteration up high, hematite rich in the oxidised zone. That trends down into reduced magnetite zone, and then lower levels of potassic and sodic alteration. We're seeing all of that, hematite, magnetite and albite down below, and as well as the copper, lead and zinc sulfides, variably rare to trace levels, but certainly there. Just quickly to flick through some of the other targets that we're drilling out there, because we don't have much time to go through them all today. Jumping Spider, this was the shallowest hole planned to 600 metres of our program. It was a very, very small one. We hit interesting rocks down at 580 odd metres. I'd expected that we were going to hit something interesting in this hole the whole way. We got veinlets and smoke, but it took a while to finally come through, but it finally did. And we've now extended that hole down to 800 metres at minimum, and we'll see what we get as we continue that hole down. But you can see the photo of the cores there. Altered red beds on the left, progressively altered, veined, brecciated, lots of quartz, hematite, chlorite, epidote, fluorite and sulfides. Mount Lamb Southwest, hole 6 and also hole 2, just an example. We've hit thick intersections of puritic, altered metasediments. We haven't quite explained these anomalies yet. Technically, I really like this result. The market probably doesn't quite digest it in the same way as a geologist does. But this result is suggesting that we need to go back and do follow-up work. But it will come down to where it fits in the priority, and hole 7 is currently the big priority. And Roadhouse, the first hole drilled, this was actually a low-ranked target. We put the rig there because the drillers didn't have a remote camp at the time, so you put them where you can. We hit some nice quartz, hematite and potassium feldspar veining in the shallow zone of the hole, 200 metres of depth. And then as we got close to our gravity anomaly, despite a lot of deviation in the hole caused by hard rocks, we hit a beautiful series of veins and breccias with a lot of quartz, hematite, carbonates, fluorites and also a bit of chalcopyrite floating around for copper. Moving 300 kilometres to the south into our flagship of the East Arunta, G. Nelson, a very special project for me, named after my grandma. This project Inca picked up based on a series of outcropping ironstone, quartz and copper veins at Mackay Creek that had never been really properly explored and followed up. They're undrilled and they're at surface. So we originally picked up the ground. This is the map of the project, Mackay Creek in the far southeast there. At the time when we picked it up, we were interested in Mackay Creek and also Mount Cornish South in the central part of the prospect. Using our systematic exploration, we started with a wide-spaced regional mag survey across the whole project, and that's resulted in a number of other prospects being identified. And it's led to a very comprehensive geophysics program being rolled out this year, which will be for drill targeting processes. We've already done our gravity surveying. We're waiting for contractors to mobilise for our IP surveys, and if we get good results from the IP, it's likely that we'll prioritise G. Nelson for drilling this year. And then later this year, we've just been awarded $100,000 grant funding for VTEM surveying across the region. So that's a quick example of Spinifex Pigeon, one of the new targets in the western portion of the project. We're targeting both IOCG and also Broken Hill style mineralisation close to the Jervis base metal deposit, which is about 20 kilometres north of this image. So magnetic, dense rocks. We'll be seeing if there's any conductors down there for copper mineralisation. Skipping across the Pacific to Rakeiser, we've drilled this previously. We've hit some technical success. Unfortunately, it didn't translate into commercial success, but often the way in exploration. We've now refocused the project and we're looking a little bit further south, and we've taken the project forward in the future. But I think Australia is certainly gaining a bit more of a positive spin at the moment. But there's a lot of things to target. We're a long strike from known porphyry and epithermal systems. We've got good big neighbours, and as you can see, there's a lot of outcropping copper, silver mineralisation that is warranting exploration. And finally, rounding out the portfolio, skipping back to the Sunshine State, Mackay Creek. This is sitting only 100 kilometres from Townsville, so it's not out in the never. And it's a really exciting project. It hasn't really gained enough airtime within the Inca portfolio, but we'll be changing that moving forward. Here we have outcropping granite volcanic terrain with a widespread copper, lead, zinc enrichment at surface. And all of the previous exploration in this area was really only focused on geochemical surveying and shallow drilling. There's been very minimal geophysics and certainly no modern day geophysics. And that's where Inca will be excitingly stepping this forward, looking for porphyry and intrusion related systems, as well as skarn and possibly structurally hosted mineralisation. And we'll be doing that through a combination of detailed magnetics and IP surveying. So just a quick example from Mackay Creek. Again, it's a very nice project. Every time we go to Mackay, we end up finding more copper that hasn't been reported before or discovered before. And often it's small-scale occurrences, but where there's small-scale occurrences, there can be big systems lurking. And we need to do our systematic exploration, which is bearing fruit at our other projects, and to see what we can discover here going forward. So just a quick summary, why invest in Inca Minerals? We are a small junior, but a small, nimble team. We've got big projects, and we're delivering really big programs to systematically step them forward towards discovery. We are very, very excited what's happening in the East Tennant region. It's been long billed by NTGS and Geoscience Australia as a location for IOCG potential, and we are delivering on that now, which we're very, very pleased with, and we're looking forward to getting back on those rigs and keeping them spinning. As well as Ferruena though, we're going to keep pushing our other projects forward. It's constantly a prioritisation process to see which projects and which targets deserve the funding. So we'll be pushing G. Nelson, Mackay Creek and rakeiser forward going in the future, and we want to get them to drill ready status so that we can get them drilled as quickly as we can. Ultimately, we're targeting large-scale systems, which means that if we have success with the exploration, there'll be a big uptick in the market cap. And given the fact we're sitting around the $50 million market now, we've got a bit of cash in the bank to actually deliver in our programs in the short, medium term. We see that we offer a good price discovery should we be successful with our exploration. So that's a quick summary. Thank you very much for listening today. I'll be out at the booth this afternoon, so please do drop by, talk to myself, Adam and Emmanuel, and please do come and see our core. We're very excited about it. We're very proud to show it off. And if anybody happens to be rolling past the Barclay Homestead, in the next couple of months during the winter time, do pop in and have a beer with us. So thank you very much.